Hey, what's good everyone? OJ here. Just wanted to give you guys a quick update on the AAA game situation, the recent rumors slash leaks slash whatever the heck you want to call them from Nate the Hate on his recent podcast. I went over the reveal timing and launch window for the system, so if you haven't seen that video, check it out. But it does seem like we're going to be having something this week on January 16th. That is Thursday. Don't know the time, at least Nate didn't say the time or anything, but maybe expect something coming when it comes to the reveal date and timing for the system itself, and then also potentially for a presentation that goes over more of the games and the meat and potatoes of the system when it comes to pricing and release dates and software. Very similar to how Nintendo did it with the Nintendo Switch 1 with that first trailer in 2016, and then the presentation when it comes to more of the system in January 2017. So October 2016 to January 2017, and then the launch in March of 2017. So it looks like it's going to follow somewhat in that trajectory for the Nintendo Switch 2. But in that episode, there was also a ton of video game stuff, AAA titles and more that I absolutely want to go over and give you guys an update on. Before we get into that, please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you are someone new, and click that notification bell to get my videos as soon as they drop, as we're going to have a ton of Nintendo Switch 2 and game coverage leading up to the reveal of the system. Now let's go ahead and jump right in, and probably one of the bigger titles that we have first heard that's coming to Nintendo Switch 2 is Metal Gear Solid Delta. This is a full ground up remake of the original Metal Gear Solid 3 that launched in the 2000s on the PlayStation 2. I think later came over to the Xbox as well, and then it came over in a multitude of ways to different systems over the years. From PlayStation 3, there was a HD collection. We have it now on PlayStation 4 and Xbox, or PlayStation and Xbox PC, and the Nintendo Switch with the Metal Gear Solid collection. So it's just something that's been around for a while when it comes to Metal Gear, but this is going to be a full remake of one of the best, if not the best, Metal Gear Solid game. Many fans feel that Metal Gear Solid 3 has the best combination of gameplay, story, features, ability, replay value, and so much stuff that makes the Metal Gear Solid series great. So Metal Gear Solid Delta seems like it could be coming to Nintendo Switch 2 based off what Nate the Hate is saying, and it would make sense. The Metal Gear Solid collection came to Nintendo Switch, and I'm pretty sure they want to put Metal Gear on Nintendo platforms, especially with the Nintendo Switch being so dominant that it is in Japan. So I'm sure they think that that momentum will carry over to Nintendo Switch 2, considering the Nintendo Switch is still selling quite well in Japan and worldwide, despite being 7-8 years old at this point. Now let's move on to the next thing here. We've got a massive update from Ubisoft, and this one seems very believable as well. Ubisoft is usually a big supporter of Nintendo platforms overall. They've been doing it essentially since the Wii Plus. Even before that, they've been supporting Nintendo platforms, GameCube and stuff like that. So I absolutely see Ubisoft in this happening. So the games that Nate is talking about is Assassin's Creed Mirage, Assassin's Creed Shadows, The Division, Rainbow Six Siege, and the big one for me is the Mario plus Rabbids collection. Now, all of these aren't necessarily going to be launch titles, and he doesn't say that they're all going to be ready for launch, and I don't expect them to be as well. Like, I don't expect Assassin's Creed Shadows to be right there. It's coming out in March. I'm not even sure the Nintendo Switch 2 will be out in March. Nate actually says it's going to be more of May or June, and VGC has corroborated that, so I do think that it's going to be more of a summer type of release for the Nintendo Switch 2, but we could see a number of these games come to the platform. For The Division, that would be the first time that that franchise has ever came to a Nintendo platform. And then with Rainbow Six Siege, it would be the first time that Rainbow Six is coming to a Nintendo platform in the modern era. I think they've had Rainbow Six before in the past, but they haven't had something when it comes to the HD era. There was nothing on the Wii U. There was nothing on the Nintendo Switch when it comes to Rainbow Six. So that would be really cool to see Rainbow Six finally make its way to a modern Nintendo system at this point. But like I said, the big one is the Mario plus Rabbids collection. And this one I would say is almost somewhat confirmed, because the Ubisoft CEO let it slip a while back that they kind of made a mistake when it comes to Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope. Nintendo told them to wait for the next system because, you know, when it comes to Mario, people like to have that one game and then buy it for the whole generation. And Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle, the original Mario plus Rabbids game, was still selling quite decently, but Ubisoft did not listen to them, and it launched apparently to them with not good sales, but eventually it ended up selling 3 million units plus. So it ended up doing well over time, but Ubisoft did say that they will update it when it comes to Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope for the next Nintendo system. So they let that out a while back, a year plus ago. So I do think that if they are going to do something on the Nintendo Switch 2 and follow through with that, it would be both games. Just take both games, put them into a collection, and release it on the Nintendo Switch 2. I think that one, that enhances the value of the games individually overall, because the games sell for pretty cheap now at this point. You could probably package both of those and put it on the Nintendo Switch 2 and charge 40 to 50 bucks, whereas most people are paying around 10 bucks or so for Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle 1 on the Switch, and around maybe $20 or less for Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope on the Nintendo Switch. So bundling those together, putting all the DLC, everything that's been released so far, the Donkey Kong expansion, the Rayman expansion, and having that as a collection for 40 to 50 bucks on the Nintendo Switch 2 is a really good, attractive bundle, in my opinion, at least. And I'd really like to see that. I love Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle. I think that game is awesome. It was a perfect type of game to get before we got a big Fire Emblem game on the Nintendo Switch. And on top of that, Sparks of Hope, while I don't think it's quite as good as the original game, I still think that it has a lot of good updates and additions, and some of the problems with the game are because of the tech overall in terms of what they're trying to do, some of the load times and things like that. If you can quickly get into battles, so if the Switch 2 can alleviate some of those issues with getting into battles faster, and some of the loading times and some of the frame rate performance on the stages, like when you're doing a little bit of the exploring and adventuring, I think it would make for a much better experience overall. If you can get those both to 60 frames, it would also look super smooth and look great on the Nintendo Switch 2, especially portable mode. So I'm expecting that to happen, or at least at the bare minimum, a Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope conversion for the Nintendo Switch, as Ubisoft has already stated they would do. Now, this is a little bit of a refresher when it comes to other stuff that we've already talked about and what Nate the Hate had to say on a recent podcast, and that was Final Fantasy VII Remake and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, both of those being made for the Nintendo Switch 2. Now, what he did say, there was a little bit of confusion on my Twitter post about it, but I think a lot of you guys got it on my YouTube channel. Final Fantasy VII Remake is apparently set for this year, and then Final Fantasy VII Rebirth will be set for next year in 2026. So Remake will come this year apparently for Xbox and the Nintendo Switch in 2025, and then 2026 is when we're going to get Rebirth. So I do think that, once again, that is a good thing. Final Fantasy VII has popular characters. It's a great franchise. People have bought it a lot on the Nintendo Switch overall. The original game, it's actually pretty good on there, but obviously the remake is something a bit different that a lot of fans would like to play as well, and I think that it would sell pretty well. So I'm hoping that FF7 Remake, I would guess that it'd have to be the integrated version just because of that extra DLC that you get with Yuffie and everything to complete what they're trying to do. And of course, Rebirth, that doesn't have any DLC or anything extra because they had to go right to work at the final chapter in the FF7 Remake saga. So I'd expect all of them eventually to be on Nintendo Switch and in Xbox over the next number of years. So we should see that. And once again, that's a good thing. I think that it's going to increase sales quite a bit, especially in Japan. Now, he does go over potentially what we could see with Elden Ring Complete Edition. That's something that he said that he's heard about, but they're going to still try to find out what's going on there. So we'll see what happens with that. And yeah, Elden Ring is another game that I think that would be really good for the Nintendo Switch 2. It's a game that's already sold incredibly well, so there's plenty of money to port that over. And if they're able to get Elden Ring Complete Edition with Shadow of the Erdtree on there, in addition to later having the new Elden Ring game, the multiplayer focused game that's coming, have that on the Nintendo Switch 2, that would just be awesome. I think it would really work well. I'm not the biggest Elden Ring fan myself. I put, I think, 20 hours plus into the PlayStation 5 version of the game and the PS4 version playing on PS5. But if they put it out on the Nintendo Switch, I'd probably just mess around with it to see how it runs and plays and everything like that, just to see the optimization. Kind of like how I messed around with Skyrim, even though I had already played it multiple times and everything. And I do think the game is okay. I felt that it's a good game. But yeah, having something like Elden Ring, that would be very impressive, and fans would absolutely love that as a portable, true portable version of Elden Ring ring isn't something that's quite available. Yeah, you can Steam Deck and do other things like that, but having one built specifically for hybrid handheld and console play is something that we just don't have right now at this point. So that would be great. Next up, they talk about stuff that they would like to see that would really cause a big impact. And Cyberpunk 2077 is one of those games. And yeah, I think that would definitely be big if they were able to have that. There was a pretty big impact when The Witcher 3 was announced for the Switch, because you had people swearing up and down that The Witcher 3 is not possible on the Nintendo Switch. There's no way that they can get that game running because it ran in pretty bad frame rates and problems on the PlayStation 4 and especially the Xbox One, and the Nintendo Switch 1 is nowhere near as powerful as those systems. But yeah, that's what modern architecture, a little bit better, more in development, and a good port studio can do. You can get games that are impossible, or the impossible port moniker, on the system, which the Nintendo Switch did multiple times. So they did say they would hope to see something like Cyberpunk 2077. And if you look at CD Projekt Red, I think they would actually like to have it on there and would commission somebody else to do it, because they did do that with The Witcher 3, and The Witcher 3 sold really well for an incredibly late and somewhat crusty port of the game. So yeah, I absolutely see that Cyberpunk could be a possibility. Plus, Cyberpunk 2077 is on PS4 and Xbox One. Yes, those versions are definitely crusty, but the Nintendo Switch 2 should have some, once again, modern processes and updates that'll make it run games better than what we saw on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, if the developers take the time to optimize. And they also talk about Grand Theft Auto 6. This is something that's a big enigma at this point. All we have confirmed for a release at this point for Grand Theft Auto 6 is PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, and Xbox Series S. No PC port, no PlayStation 4, no Xbox One, no anything else. Those are the systems right now, and I think that they are working really hard in order to get that game ready to go. So I don't see that the Nintendo Switch 2 will get Grand Theft Auto 6 anytime close to the release of the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series versions. I do think that it's possible, considering that the game is apparently set for the end of this year in 2025 and could get delayed to 2026. So maybe that does give them some extra time. But I would just say Rockstar is very, very, I would say, particular with what they do, and they will port games to other systems over time. So I just think that maybe it's one of those games that gets ported over time. If the system does well, then they'll actually have some confidence to say, okay, we'll port that over. We did see a number of big ports like LA Noire, for example, that did come over to Nintendo Switch 1. Red Dead Redemption 1, that came over to Nintendo Switch 1 as well. And there's rumors about Red Dead Redemption 2 coming over to Nintendo Switch 2 as well. So it's definitely possible when it comes to these major big type of titles from Rockstar. They've definitely done it, and I think that if they can, or if they feel like it based on the success of the Nintendo Switch, they will. But it took them a long time to port Red Dead Redemption 1 over to the Nintendo Switch, considering that game was like, what, 2010 or something like that, and we just got it a year or so ago. So I would expect that to be a later type of thing, but maybe there's an announcement for it. Maybe they do announce that it's coming at some point in one of the Nintendo Directs or something like that. So we'll have to wait and see on it. But what are your thoughts overall when it comes to the big AAA games update, third-party stuff that's happening here on the Nintendo Switch 2? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other Nintendo Switch RPG videos and more right here on screen. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.